Thinking of using AI as a guide for your next psychedelic journey? Because why not? You're using AI for everything else, right? Not so fast. Let's get into it. Hi, everybody. My name is Jill. Welcome back to the Journey Sage. And this is the channel where I talk about psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy, or in a broader sense, using psychedelics for mental health and self-growth reasons. And there was just an article in Wired about the idea of people using AI models to be their guides during psychedelic journeys. Now, this video is not necessarily for beginners. This video assumes you know a little bit about what it's like to be in a psychedelic journey, and you know a little bit about AI. So if you know nothing about those two things, this video might not be for you, but if you're still with me, let's get into it. I have three main concerns: privacy, distraction, and the fact that AI is simply a model and it is not always correct. I am not anti-tech in any way, shape, or form. I use AI on a daily basis. I have a master's degree in instructional technology. I was an instructional technologist in a school district, and I've worked for Amazon and Microsoft. So I am in no way, shape, or form anti-tech. I am very much concerned about people's subconsciouses being wide open during psychedelic journeys and what they allow into their sphere of perception during that time. You know, one of my guides once said a really poignant yet easily to understand concept is that when somebody is in a psychedelic journey, you never want someone else to put their own hands in that person's wet pee. Like, you just don't want to transfer anything else into that person's subconscious while they're in that state. So let's get into this a little bit deeper. First and foremost is privacy. I come from a state of mind that as soon as something is digital or as soon as a device is attached to the internet, I have given up my privacy. I think a really great way to think about digital privacy is preface everything you do with your honor. Meaning, if it's a text message, if it's an email, if it's a post on social media, and if you would be embarrassed or concerned about what you're writing or what you're putting out there being in a court of law, probably don't put it out there. Would I want my entire psychedelic journey, my subconscious, laid out for a judge and jury to witness and observe and judge? No, absolutely not. So I tend to think, number one, privacy. Consider what your privacy standards are before you even think about using an AI tool, especially in the psychedelic realm. Secondly, distraction. And this is where an understanding of psychedelic work is necessary. When I am working on a trauma point or I'm working on a blockage, that's what I'm working on. I do not want any sort of distraction like, oh, I have to open up the laptop. Oh, I have to fire up the phone. Oh, I have to pay attention to what buttons I need to click. To me, in my opinion, that can be incredibly distracting. And during a psychedelic session, you have this brief window of time where you can get a lot of perspective, you can understand the background for your behavior, you can see the patterns. And in my mind, anything that you are bringing in that would be an active distraction, I think is kind of defeating the purpose. That's my opinion. I don't see a reason to bring an additional distraction in. I mean, tough emotions and tough trauma, it's difficult enough as it is. And then to bring in another element that you need to consciously be thinking about, like your higher order thinking, your executive functioning needs to be working for that to happen. I don't know, it just doesn't seem to be the best healing modality, at least in my experience. And then third, AI is not reliable. And that comes from someone who uses it all the time. AI is trained on information that is out there already. It looks for patterns. It also looks for what it thinks you want to hear. Numerous times throughout the day, I am correcting AI. I'm saying, wait a minute, I thought you were going to give me X, you gave me Y. Hey, what is this? I asked you for this, you gave me this instead. Hey, wait, can we fact check that? That doesn't sound right. on a personalized or customized GPT where I have trained it on my stuff. It's my book, it's my writings, it's my videos. It still messes up who I am sometimes. So the very idea that we would be placing trust in a digital tool that is not actually reading us or paying attention to our body language, our tone of voice, it's just paying attention to the words and trying to find a pattern to, in some way, shape, or form, do a job, puts it in a completely different perspective. I think the biggest thing for me is that it's just not always right. Remember going back to that premise of like the hand in the wet paint? Is that what you want? Something that's potentially going to feed you information or ideas that are just not right, and your mind, you're full of wet paint and you're susceptible to having imprints? It doesn't appeal to me, and I hope I've explained it in a way that kind of makes sense why it might not be the best choice. But these premises are things to kind of take with you, whether you're thinking of AI during a psychedelic session or integration. Privacy, where's your information going to go? Is this more of a distraction, or does it provide the focus that you need? And hey, wait a minute, how do I know that I'm getting really good information, and how does it react when I push back because I'm sensing this isn't great information? I hope this explains a little bit of my concerns about this growing technology that I use every day, but is, in my opinion, probably not appropriate for all uses. And the psychedelic journey is absolutely one of those inappropriate places, in my opinion. So with all of that said, basic information about me. I went through MDMA therapy for PTSD a few years ago. I've written a memoir, I've written a workbook. You can find that on Amazon. I have a 5-day free email course specifically about MDMA therapy. And then, of course, you can always find resources on thejourneysage.com. And so with all of that said, take care until next time.